Oh, testing. Great. We are back with another video, and this time we're going to talk about another approach we call expenditure approach. Okay. Now, I'm guessing this video may be a little bit longer because you see, right, on page 6 of your notes, right, it's going to be a little bit more complicated than what we have for the value added approach, right? So let's get started. Now, if you remember, we calculate the value added of an RPU, of all the RPU, to calculate the GDP, right? But this time, instead of using the value added, we're going to use the expenditure. How much people are spending? 佢哋使咗幾多錢啊 to calculate the GDP. Here, this will become your best friend. GDP equals to CIGNX. 嗱，你會不斷見到呢5隻英文字㗎。Sometimes NX would be written as X minus M. OK，呢5隻英文字咧。你係會不斷見到嘅 and you will see this again when we come to ADAS, aggregate demand and aggregate supply. OK， 好嘛？李阿 Sir， 火星文嚟，我都唔知講乜。OK， so let's explain CIGNX one by one. OK， 好啦，咩嚟嘅咧？嗱 ，let's start with C。哎呀 ，sorry 啊，等我陣。Yes, let's start with C. C is what we call private consumption expenditure. Okay, private, what does that mean? It means that we are talking about households, okay? They're spending on finished goods, okay? 好嘛 ？household 買得嘅 by definition 都係 finished good 㗎啦 ，OK？ 好嘛 ？So they're spending on finished goods. That would be C. OK， 另一個啦，另一個簡單啲啊，我哋講個簡單啲嘅先咧。G, what about G, right? Government consumption expenditure, OK？ We are talking about government purchase of goods and services. Okay, for example, public services. Many public services. Here, let's say the medical expenses, and sometimes when we talk about the salary of civil servants. 係咪？原來嗰啲公務員嘅人工啊，係咪 ？All of these would be on government consumption expenditure. Now, but be very careful. We are talking about consumption expenditure. OK， 我哋淨係計 goods 同 services 嗰啲啫。So if government, let's say they do some financial investment， 記住喎，政府有機會。都會買下咩債券啊嗰啲嘅喎 ，OK？These do not count. We call those government investment expenditure. OK？ 我哋唔係要 investment， 我哋要 government consumption expenditure. OK？Some values are measured at factor cost. If you remember， 記唔記得之前啊公立醫院嗰條啦 ？OK？Remember they should be counted at factor cost because there is no normal market price. 個 market price do you remember? It is distorted 係咪？會歪曲咗佢啊 ？OK， 好嘛 ？OK，now what about next one? We call this gross investment expenditure. OK， 我哋叫做 I 啦。Now this one is a little bit more complicated. OK， 好嘛？嗱 ，first of all, we are talking about a real investment by firms。你見到特登 highlight 咗 real 呢個字啦。你阿 Sir 做乜 highlight real 啊？有留心嘅會知道啦。Financial investment has nothing to do here。咩叫 real investment 啊？真係起樓啊，去整貨啊 ，OK？They really make some goods 係咪 ？Make some inventory etc. And there are three parts to this. OK? First, we call that net domestic fixed capital formation. OK？ 即係咩 capital formation 啊 ？For example, they make a machine。係啊，買部新嘅機器或者自己整部新嘅機器，咁咪多咗 capital 咯，係咪啊？咁咪叫capital formation 咯。OK， 好嘛 ？Fixed capital formation。嗱，跟住下一個咧幾得意嘅，嗱，慢慢你要認識呢個字啦。Next one, we add in depreciation。OK， 原來啲折舊啊，記住啲嘢用耐咗咧會跌價㗎。For example, my camera, right? When you buy the camera second hand, you find that the price much lower than the first hand price because of depreciation，你用過嘛，咁咪個價會低啲咯，好嘛？嗱 here there is one very important accounting concept you also need to know, right？記住啦，原來我哋成日都話咧 GDP gross domestic product 咩叫 gross 咧？睇住啦喎，原來啦 gross refers to net plus depreciation。OK， 所以啦，你見到啦，如果呢個係 net domestic fixed capital formation，then you also need to add in depreciation. These two adding together, we will call it gross domestic fixed capital formation. OK， 係嘛？所以你見到啦，小心啲啦。In exam, you need to be careful with gross versus net. OK， 加唔加 depre 就睇佢究竟係 net 定係 gross 啦。OK， 得唔得？ And finally, you also need to add in the change in inventory. Okay, change in inventory. Okay, inventory refers to how many stock and how many goods unsold. OK， 你話阿 Sir， 你之前唔係話 if a good is not sold, then there is no market value。咁點解會計嘅 ？Boys, this item it is here largely to deal with the problem of double counting. OK， 原來佢主要去對付 double counting 嘅問題啊。OK， 即係咩意思啦 ？OK，boys here, let's take a look. Let's say for example, I made 3 goods. OK, I have good A, B and C. 好啦，喺I made all these in 2020. Let's say 2020年啦。Then, by the way, the cost 50, 50 and 50. Let's say I made the 3 of them $50. OK， 好嘛？呢度啦，我有我整咗3個，每個都50蚊啦。Let's imagine in 2020, I sold good A at let's say 200. Then by GDP, we know that in 2020, this amount would be the market value, right? 係咪啊？得唔得？ Okay, but then if you remember, these two are unsold, right? 佢哋未賣出去㗎嘛 ？No, but there is production involved. These two unsold. What do we call this? We call this the inventory. 於是啦，我而家係多咗幾多 inventory 啊 ？Inventory increase by 100， 係咪？而家我咪多咗100蚊嘅 inventory 未賣出去 ，but there is production, right? Therefore, change in inventory, we also need to add in to reflect the true production value. OK， 我哋真正 production 嘅 value 啦。OK， now let's imagine now could be in 2021, I sold it at 400. OK， 而家啦，假設我喺呢度400蚊賣咗佢。OK， 好嘛？嗱 ，again you will see that, right? You will see that according to market value, 2021係嘛 ？According to market value, here we have 400 as the private consumption expenditure. 但係阿 Sir， 唔係呢50蚊已經計咗㗎啦咩 ？Now if I add in this 400, isn't that the problem of double counting that we have talked about? Exactly. That's why, boys, we need to account for the change in inventory as well. 好啦 ，boys, now that I sell one of the goods, 我本身有2件貨，而家我冇咗1件貨 ，so you will see my inventory actually would drop by 50，係咪？呢50蚊嘅貨唔見咗啦。So in that year, we have 350 GDP. Okay, now boys, let's double check. 你阿 Sir 真係咁嘅咩？ In fact, take a look. If we look at 2021, what is the value added output? 400 minus input 50, 350。見唔見啊？原來啊，呢個 change in inventory, this item is here exactly to deal with the problem of double counting. OK， 異曲係咪異曲同工之妙啊？ Basically, is the value added of expenditure approach. O 唔 OK 啊？撈唔撈到啊？ Okay, so hopefully, now if you don't understand, okay, if you don't understand, do rewind the video and see whether you can listen to the explanation again. Okay, 好嘛，所以啦，呢3個 item 加埋一齊就會係我哋嘅 gross investment expenditure 啦。Now finally, we also have our net export to deal with. Okay, our net export to deal with. Okay, 咩叫 net export 啊 ？Export minus import. Okay, 我出口嘅。減翻我入口嘅。Now, boys, you will be thinking why we need to add export. Okay, now remember, private consumption expenditure by local household. Okay, 好嘛？呢個 local household 啦。Remember, export, the spending, who spend the money? This would be foreign spending. 外國人使嘅錢。So it is not in our sea. The problem is, if they spend some money to buy something, then it means we have production going on in our local economy. That's why we need to add in export. OK， 好嘛？嗱 ，export 點計啦 ？Total add here. OK， it should be domestic. OK， 或者佢 domestic export of goods, and then domestic export of service. OK， 最後一個啦，我哋叫做 re-export of goods, which I think you should know from your IH, right? Hong Kong used to be one of the most important entry port in China. OK， 係嘛？我哋係中國其中一個最重要嘅轉口港啦。Hong Kong did a lot of re-export of goods. OK， 嗱，Sir 有冇 re-export of service 啊 ？Service 點 re-export 啊？天才。OK， I'm not going to waste the time here. OK, finally, minus import. Import 同樣道理啦。Import, this one, when we talk about private consumption expenditure, 我哋講緊我哋 household 使咗幾多錢啦。So here, they spend the money. OK， 我哋唔理佢係本地定係本地定唔係本地啦。But remember, if something is imported, it means that this is not local production. Therefore, the spending on import does not reflect our domestic production level. That's why we need to minus import. 因為呢個啊唔係我哋本地生產嘅嘢啊，唔係本地生產即係唔係 GDP 咯。That's why we need to take away import, right? We have total import of goods and total import of service. OK， 好嘛？嗱 ，boys。I want to do 2 examples, and then we move on to the next video to talk about more past papers, right? 好嘛？嗱，我想試下啦，攞我哋嘅 expenditure approach. Okay, let's go to page 10 of your notes. Page 10 of your notes. If you remember, in last 2 videos, we talk about production approach or value-added approach, right? We have this example. Okay, now boys, let's use expenditure approach. We find the expenditure on final products. Okay, 好啦，所以我哋揾啦。Firm A selling to household. 咩叫 household 啊？ Remember household do the spending. So this guy is our C. OK， 呢個咪係我哋嘅 C 仔咯。OK，this he or she will be our C， 係嘛？ Now how much is the household spending in our case？ 佢而家究竟佢使緊幾多錢咧？ You will see, right? Spend 45 and spend 45， 係嘛？你見啦，佢而家係咪使咗90蚊啊？ So here C will get 45, right? 係嘛？ C we get 45。 OK， 得唔得？ Now what about I and G? Obviously we don't have I and G here. We don't have I and G here, obviously, right? Obviously. Then let's see. Here, firm B to a foreign firm. 而家啦，我 firm B 賣去一間外國嘅 firm. Okay, what do we call this? We call this the export. 呢個咪係我哋嘅 export 咯。我唔寫 X 啦，我驚以為你交叉，好嘛 ？Therefore, our X is $40， 我哋今日出口咗40咯。OK， 好嘛 ？What about import? Household buying from a foreign firm. What do we call this? We call this import. So import. Right now we have $45. Okay, sorry, C 90, right? No, 45, not 90. I'm so sorry. Okay, 好嘛 So what is the GDP in our case? Remember, C plus I plus G plus X minus M. Here, 45, 0, 0. X 40 minus 45. That should give us the answer of $40. Now, boys, take a look. Or expenditure approach 計到係40蚊。Value added approach 都係計到40蚊。Is there anything wrong? No. Of course they should be the same. 如果個個 approach 計出嚟唔同，你就賴嘢啦，即係一個錯啦，係咪啊 ？Okay, so now do you understand how we do expenditure approach? Let's do one more example. I remember there should be one more. Let me take a look. It should be. Yes. Let's go to page 13 of your notes. If you remember, last time we did part B using value added approach. Now, what about if we use expenditure approach? How would it sound, right? Now, let's see. Part A. Factor cost 記住小心啲啊 factor cost, right? But doesn't matter. Let us find the market price first. Market price first. 好啦，我哋睇下 market price 點玩啊 Here, let's see. 話啦 GDP at market price equals to C plus I plus G plus NX, net export, right? 好嘛？嗱 I and G definitely 0 here, right? 好啦，你話阿 Sir C 係幾多 ？Remember C refers to the local consumers spending on final goods。我哋係佢最後嘅 goods 使咗幾多嘛？係咪 ？So here we have 50K。最後啦 ，OK 嗱 I and G we don't have right。Now what about X and M? Local wholesaler selling to foreign. This is export 60K. 但係啦 what else? If you remember, we also have import, okay, of 30K. 佢話 import 咗嘛，係咪 So here, minus 30K. That gives us the answer of 80K, which, by the way, matches our answer. 見唔見啊 ？match 到啦，啱嘅。Now finally, we need to calculate factor cost, right? So by the virtue of market price equals to factor cost plus indirect tax minus subsidy. Now here, let's see. Market price 80K. In here, sales tax, later on you will learn, sales tax is an indirect tax. 5K, 0, and that would give us factor cost at 75K. Okay, 明唔明白啊? So this is how we use expenditure approach to do questions. Now don't worry, in our next video, I'm going to dive into the typical example of the expenditure approach. Okay, so see you very soon in our next video then. Bye bye.